We're going to start with a man who was once a star with a team that's certainly getting its share of attention lately, fellas. I think you'll agree. The last Chicago championship football team, the '63 Bears. The star defensive end of that team was a 6'8", 265-pound, not-so-gentle giant named Doug Atkins. George Halas called him one of the greatest players of all time. An 8-time All-Pro, he played in 4 championship games, and if you saw him play, you'd probably agree that today's bruising linemen are following his big footsteps. He was the feared number 81 on the Monsters of the Midway. He earned the first Vince Lombardi Award, and the Southeastern Conference honored Doug as its player of the quarter century. Back home in Knoxville, Tennessee, Doug talked about starting out.
See, I was #1 draft choice, Cleveland Browns, in 53. Well, my bonus was 2 cheeseburgers and 8 beers. Weeb Eubank signed me down in Moultrie, Georgia. I was playing basketball with the Detroit Vagabonds, and I thought that was all the money in the world.
Doug's currently in the beer business as a route man for a large distributor, but he's held a number of jobs since leaving football.
I covered everything from caskets to concrete pipe to beer to eyeglasses, you name it, building houses, trucking. So you learn something each job you have. But just like you say, the people said, get prepared, get prepared. And evidently I wasn't prepared, and I'm still bouncing, you see what I mean?
Doug played 17 seasons in the NFL, but his best memories were of one team, the '63 Bears.
I'd say it was the best group of people I'd ever played with. We had lots of talent. You had lots of good people, and we didn't have too many cliques. Everybody was just one big happy family. I think that's one reason we did as well as we did. At Cleveland, we had this clique, we had about 3 or 4 different cliques, a group here, but when I went to Chicago, I noticed that everybody was just kind of all together and went together. It was more of a little family deal there. I don't know where Halas was responsible for it or what, but we had some pretty good football players.
As fierce as he was on game days, Doug had a reputation for loafing during practice.
I loved to practice during the season because it was short, it was quick, and you like to get a little sweat up where you go out and have your beer or two that tastes a little better. But
Papa Bear didn't appreciate some of Doug's off-field habits. The coach hired detectives to check up on the players.
And he said, "Did you say that?" I said, "Well, maybe not exactly like that, and this, that, and other." He went on, and I said, "There's no use in lying this old man. He knows exactly what I said." So after the season, when I checked up, he says, "Doug," says, "I want to thank you for making me do this." I said, "What do you mean?" Says, "Making me get people to follow you around." Says, "You'll be surprised at the things I found out about what's going on." Says, "This is going to make us a better team next year. I want to thank you again." See, he just turns the thing right around on you. I mean, you know, you go in there mad that the old man's thanking you for helping him, for having people follow you. Of course, I didn't buy all that stuff, but he was really something else. We had great big scales, and Halas most of the time would weigh himself. He'd put you on the scales, take you off, and we got where we could kind of goose a guy from behind, and for 4 pounds, we know what we could help him. Then somebody'd tell us, and he'd quit that. And then the way the scales were located in the old restroom, we could slip around from the restroom, and we'd roll up some $50 in some tape and pop it on that big weight there. He said, "Get off them scales, you weigh more than that." He'd look all around, but he couldn't see us back in the back. He'd get them off and look again. He'd go back to 0, and the guy would jump back up, we'd pop them back up there. We cheated him every way we could, and eventually he'd always catch up with it. We spent more times trying to mess up the scales than we did playing football back in those days. What I think he'd been doing all these years, he'd been fining people, and that was tax-free money for weigh-ins and all this stuff. Like Rick Caceres always got fined $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a year. Hey, that was money right in his pocket. We paid taxes on it, and he kept it. Now, I'm sure he helped a lot of people and give a lot of stuff to charity. But when he fined you, you paid the tax on your W-2 form, so he didn't miss a trick. Halas and I had our differences. But, you know, I told him what I thought when I played with him while I was under him. And then I couldn't get nobody to support me then on the team. Very few people would even support me. They just let me go. Says, "Keep your mouth shut." I said, "Well, that's not right. I'm just saying what I think." Well, after I said what I wanted to say and I retired, I didn't have anything else to say. And people tried to, "Won't you do this?" to Halas. I said, "Hey, I told him what I wanted to tell him while I was there." So I noticed a lot of the people, after they got away from him, they started to kind of knocking him and saying things that I thought they should have said while they were playing.
Doug lives in the country with his second wife and her 2 children. He has 3 grown sons, and it bothers him that today's kids grow up believing that pro football history didn't begin until the first Super Bowl.
Something that really gets me about football, it's not that you want any of the glory or anything, but the kids talking about, have you ever played in a Super Bowl? I said, no, I never played in a Super Bowl. I played in a championship. Oh, you didn't play in a Super Bowl. See what's happened? I don't know whether it's the press or what, even though they have forgotten back the championship games, which were much tougher than the Super Bowl. I hate to take any of the glory away. That's when you had 12 teams, 32 players, and the 2 top teams played, and hey, there wasn't no specialties made the teams back in those days. Well, they've completely mopped part of the football out.
Doug's still a bear at heart. He compared the '63 team, which had his old friend Mike Ditka as a player, with the '85 team, which has Iron Mike as head coach.
I'd say overall, right now, the whole thing, they look a little stronger than the '63 team right now. Unless they take a nosedive. And we have been known to do that. Start out 4 games, lose all 4, win 8 straight, lose the last 4. So that's the history of the Bears. So we just keep our fingers crossed. I'm not trying to jinx them or anything. If someone don't unplug the refrigerator, I guess they might be okay.